Welcome to Cbus Mob. It is episode 7 of season 2. Today we have Ilaria and Lisa from Fortuna Bank, the first female-founded bank in Columbus, Ohio, and one of only 13 in the entire country. Yes, 13. During our conversation today, we will learn what it was like to start, how it was working with female founders, what they have come to learn in servicing their clients, and about their amazing candy bar at the bank. Stay tuned. I think you'll leave with a little bit of joy and a smile on your face. Welcome. I am here with Ilaria and Lisa of Fortuna Bank, a women-focused bank, I will say. I will let you both introduce yourself and give us your background.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I am Lisa Berger. I am from Columbus, pretty much born and raised here. I am an attorney by training. I was a lawyer in private practice for a while. I eventually bought a title company here in town, ran that, did that, sold it. And very long story short, some years later after selling the company, started with Ilaria and a whole team of people, Fortuna Bank, a majority women-owned bank here in Grandview, Ohio.
I'm Ilaria Rawlins. I grew up in Syracuse, New York, but came to Ohio by way of Denison University, staying in Columbus after graduating in the early 90s, landed in banking kind of accidentally, didn't expect it to become a career, but ultimately fell in love with the ability to build some really key relationships with people and be part of really important moments in people's lives, whether it's through buying their house, planning for retirement, and just really appreciated the connectivity that banking provided. So I've been a career banker for 35 plus years and really excited to kind of jump into a little bit more of the entrepreneurial space in what is such a heavily regulated industry.
It's not like people are like, I'm going to start a bank because of all of the red tape. So I guess how did this come to fruition, and how did you navigate that?
The navigation question is a long answer.
I bet.
Yeah. How we came to it was really I sold a company that I had owned and run for about 10 years. And soon after I did sell the company, I wouldn't say bored, but I just felt like I needed a new challenge, something to fill my cup. And I looked for a long time. I mean, I looked high and low for different things that I could do. I came across different business ideas, different franchises, but then ultimately decided that what I wanted to do was something that would make a difference, not just start a business to have a business and to pay the bills, which is a very legitimate reason to start a business. But I wanted to do something that would leave a little bit more of a mark. And I actually had two business partners who had started two banks here in Central Ohio. They sold one of them, did great, sold one and made their shareholders very happy. They started a second one, which is still in existence. But one of those business partners said to me, hey, why don't you go take a look at opening a minority-owned bank? He said, we like that idea and we thought maybe we'd want to do that, but we aren't minority, so it didn't really work out for us. But I think you might be interested in what you find. And so when I started to look into it, I slowly came to the realization that, this could be something really cool. It would be a challenge. It would be something a little bit unusual, which I liked. And when we started to look at the numbers, we realized just how unusual it would be. So there are 4,800 banks in the country and of those, I think about 15 of them are women owned. And
holy smokes.
Research, we found that ours would be the third intentionally created women-owned bank in the country, only the third. And after sort of gleaning all this information and also realizing that I'm not a banker and didn't know how to start a bank, I approached a couple other people who have done it, one of whom was Ilaria. I don't know if Ilaria, you might want to talk a little bit more about the journey once we sort of made the decision to do it, but that's where it came from.
That's wild. Like that number, I continually am shocked when people will say something that they're the first, like we had a guest who's the first Muslim judge in Ohio. And I was like, how is that a thing? So to be the 15th women-owned bank in the U.S. is insane in 2025. Yeah. Sorry, Ilaria, please share.
I think you couple it with, you kind of had gone down that path. And when Lisa approached me and said, I'm thinking of doing this, is this something that you might be interested in? I started looking at some statistics myself about whether it was women in banking or female entrepreneurs and their relationship and what that looked like. And so you look at women-owned businesses are growing at 2 times the national average. yet female entrepreneurs are denied 3 times more often than their male counterparts for a commercial loan. And not because banks are discriminatory or being discriminatory, but you think about the landscape, and 75% of commercial lenders are men. If you're a guy starting a business, it is likely that you have a buddy in your network that you can text or call and say, hey, I'm starting a business. Can you give me some ideas of what I need to take into consideration when I'm building my business plan? Help me prepare my loan package so that it clears loan committee. And instead, and this is a hyper generalized statement, but when you think about maybe what a female entrepreneur, what her journey might look like, she's probably walking into a banking center. She's talking to someone across the desk. They may give her a checklist as to what she needs to put together, but no one's really holding her hand. And I thought, what a great opportunity to be able to be really that conduit and help make sure that we're intentional in that space. So that was exciting. And then another piece I thought was really interesting, and I think Lisa can probably agree that we ran into this quite a bit, but women stand to inherit the majority of the great wealth transfer that's taking place between baby boomers to the next generation.
Sure. Yeah.
Women historically are not necessarily risk takers. In a traditional marriage, it's not often that they have really a lot of input in their retirement, kind of the build out of the retirement funds. What do the investments look like? And they also oftentimes don't see private equity type of investment. So outside of maybe your 401k, they're not necessarily getting to see some other opportunities and ways to diversify their portfolio. And so I thought this also is a great way to make sure that we're focused on financial education, taking a little bit of risk, generating wealth so that you have some financial freedom and stability. And so kind of coupling both of those pieces together, I thought this is just a perfect opportunity to be able to do something a little bit different in Columbus, where we both are, and in a space that we're really familiar with.
I have to imagine, since you're one of very, very few across the country, that you're working locally, but you're also working statewide. Is that a correct assumption, if not outside the state?
We, from a business plan perspective, we are very intentional in Columbus. We will do loans in Ohio, and we will take deposits in from across the country. But as far as from a lending perspective, we're pretty hyper-focused here in Columbus, Ohio. We think there's a lot of opportunity here. It's this space we know and we feel comfortable with. As we grow, those parameters probably change a bit or have the potential to change, but that's where we'll start at.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I just think about anytime I've gone to a NABO event, the number of women business owners there is like, it's always intimidating because the room's so big, which is good, right? That means you have a lot of customers out there. What are you finding with your clients? Have they been intimidated to go to other banks to ask for those loans, or do they just enjoy seeing a female face across the table? Because I have to tell you, it's always nice if I get to sit down and there's a female on the other side of the table.
Yeah, I think and Lisa, I think some of our original stories of the why also probably get plugged in pretty well here. But what we are finding is definitely a sense of hope easing some anxiety. We definitely talk to women who have experienced, whether it was, and some of these scenarios are a little bit dated, but where they were told that they needed to bring their husband in to get the approval on the loan. We've heard those. We've heard stories that as they were building, they just weren't necessarily given the direction that they felt would help them get to kind of that next level. We find, and one of the spaces that we're really intentional in is creating a community. So we have a great shareholder base that has a lot of experience. And so how can we tap into those areas of professional experience and be able to create a network so that we and female entrepreneurs are kind of growing their network as well. And that's been very, very well received. And in general, coming in, whether it's to talk about situations, to talk about potential opportunities that they have, the feedback that we've gotten is that they're thrilled we're here and that it's just very different. When you walk into our bank, it feels very different. It doesn't feel like a bank.
Even your website feels very different. Like I was on it preparing for this and the simplicity of navigation it stuck with me. I was like, oh yeah, I can see like very easily fee schedule for this product. There are a number of women on the landing page, which is refreshing to see. I think,
and hopefully
all
even
the board.
More important than them being on the landing page is they're on the board of directors directory, and they're in the C-suite directory. But I have to say, we aren't just banking women. We want to be a great community bank for everybody. I think that we really tried hard from the very beginning to make the feel of the bank very different, more welcoming, more inviting for everybody. And we encourage people. We really want people to come into the bank. I know it's so easy anymore, and our online platform is great. I mean, you can do everything that you want to do with our app, but coming into the bank, into our brick and mortar space is a very different feeling experience.
When you were both talking about building something that had impact and had relationships and meeting people, it sounds like that's incredibly important to the core value of the bank.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, banking is a commodity and the products that we offer are a commodity. And so the differentiator is, how do we treat people? How do we make people feel? And then how do we connect and help them grow in whichever manner that means? Is it the first $500 that they've ever saved in their entire life? Is it to be able to retire? Is it to scale the business? And so it's really meeting everybody where they need to be met and then helping them get to that next target.
I see that being an incredibly big thing moving forward. We are in post-COVID. We can do everything on our phones, but I am finding more and more people who want to sit down and have a cup of coffee. Yes, this could be a Zoom call, but I'd actually like to meet you in person. Have you started to see a shift within your own kind of sphere of influence of wanting more of that personal connection?
I would say without a doubt. I mean, it's been amazing to me. We touted, and I was with a bank previous to this, and at the time we touted kind of like, you don't need to come into the bank to do anything. I'll take care of it all for you. And I really thought that would be what we were selling with this bank as well, because who wants to have to go into a banking center? I mean, it's not an I get to, it's an I have to oftentimes. But I'm amazed at the number of people when I reach out to them, and even my colleagues here in the office, when we reach out to people, whether they're prospects or clients, and say, we can come pick up the documents for you. You can scan it and email to us. We'll do whatever you want to do to make it as easy as possible. I want to stop by the bank. I want to grab that cup of coffee. I'd love to sit down and talk with you. And it's so that's been a lot of fun. And that's definitely been a twist in, I think, what we're seeing as far as just traffic here in the office. We also have a great space. So I think it's a little bit different. We're very intentionally, conveniently located, kind of like just northwest of downtown Columbus, easy to get to. And so it's been a nice surprise.
Yeah. And Lisa, you look like you're going to jump in there. Have you had the same experience?
I love going to the space. I'm not in the bank every day. And I like to try and find excuses and reasons to get over there.
Yeah.
We have a great candy bar. That's right.
Now you're speaking my own language.
I would really like to expand it. It's good, but I think it needs to be bigger.
The bank I go to got rid of their suckers, and my wife happens to work there. And I was like, where'd the suckers go? She's like, no one cares. And I was like, I really care.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that.
We have a really good coffee machine. It makes all kinds of things. So just saying.
All right, I'm going to have to come and check it out and meet you in person. So how have you found navigating? So you've got the bank open and you're in your first year, right? Did I get that? Yeah.
Just beyond 6 months at this point.
What was like the biggest surprise? Because you've both started businesses, been in banking. What was your biggest surprise trying to make this come to life?
Well, so there's a caveat here. Since the doors have opened, the heavy load obviously has been on Ilaria. I've taken a step back. My heavy lifting was in the days leading up to the open. And for me, the hardest thing and the most surprising thing was how difficult it was to raise the money to get the bank off the ground. We were given conditional approval at one point by the regulators. We could open provided we satisfied this list of things, one of which was raising $20 million to get the doors open. And of course, for us, that meant, okay, $20 million, hard enough, but the majority of it had to come from women investors. And that just turned out to be 10 times more difficult than I had ever imagined. It was a challenge. It was tough.
Is it because of the disparity in wealth at the moment? Because the great wealth transfer is just starting, or?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. But honestly, I think the biggest factor was just comfort level. Just women historically not being asked to make these kinds of investments, not fully understanding them, just being intimidated, understandably. And I think not being typically asked to invest large sums of money on their own.
Yeah.
I think that was an education in and of itself for me. I mean, I just didn't realize. And it was tough. Ilaria can tell you. We had a lot of sleepless nights. I had a lot of sleepless nights. I don't know if Ilaria didn't sleep.
I have a feeling that she did.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ilaria.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add, I mean, I think I have to agree 100%. That was by far probably the biggest surprise. I think we both were, although I don't want to speak for Lisa. I mean, I felt pretty cocky going into the capital raise. We'll get this done in 4 months. We knew there was another startup bank here in Columbus that had raised almost double what they were going after. And they did it in 4 months. And I was like, I know those people. We can do it too. And it's going to be easy. And I do think it was a little bit of, it really felt like women think a lot more about the investment and process it and what risks do they take. My sister just texted me and is still stressing over the fact that they just bought a car yesterday. And she's like, I just don't know if it was a good decision. I'm like, it's a car. Like, you need a car. Like, it's okay. Like, it's all going to be okay. And so it was kind of that thing. And so I feel like there was definitely, that is not in my DNA to be as thoughtful about maybe some of those investments. I tend to be a little bit more of a risk taker. And so I didn't foresee that part coming. I think getting the doors open was equally challenging, whether it was from an operational perspective and getting through some of the regulatory hurdles. That was definitely tough. But outside of the capital raise, I feel like, the biggest kind of eye openers this is much more of an entrepreneurial startup journey and startup with the guardrails and the regulatory kind of guardrails of the industry itself. And that's been an interesting, I think, dynamic to be a part of, because a lot of our board members are entrepreneurs and go, do triple what we said we were going to do. And the regulators like to have you stay very close to your business plan, not blow it out of the water, but stay very close to it. And because they don't want you to grow much faster than you said you would, because it could throw all the numbers out of whack. And so that's been interesting.
Yeah, I can see that, because as an entrepreneur myself, I can do things 10 times faster because I have regulation, but not nearly as much as you do in banking. And so that is an interesting needle to thread with your board. Do you think the things that you learned, especially in the capital call, are helping propel you forward as far as like the education piece? Because I think that goes, Ilaria, to what you had said initially, which was filling that gap of, risk aversion to investments outside of a 401k and things like that. Do you see any parallels to what you learned to what you're bringing to your clientele?
I think it's a little bit more of the same. It kind of guides that path for us, and it reinforces why we're here and why, we really set out to be intentional, especially on our philanthropic arm. And to Lisa's point, we want to be a great community bank for everybody. We want to bank men and women equally. We want to be able to help our entire community grow. But from the philanthropic side, we really do want to focus on making sure that we help women generate wealth, that we help them create their financial packages. And I think what we saw in the capital raise was that there's definitely a need there, and that I think we can help even through this investment in itself. We have 350 shareholders, of which 75% are women. So even this investment themselves helps to kind of teach and pass along some education of what else is out there.
What are you doing with your philanthropic arm? Because you brought that up. Just, is it giving back to nonprofits? Is it hosting education within your space? Is it everything in between?
It's a little bit of everything in between right now. It still remains under construction. We recognize we need to grow, and we're building everything kind of along. So right now we offer, in fact, our chief lending officer provides a lot of one-on-one time with new business owners where she's helping guide them through, maybe they can't get a loan today, but here are the steps that you need to do to be able to get that loan, and having some of those really deep dive conversations that I think are missed at some of the other potentially larger banking institutions. So we have financial education. We also have providing networking and mentorship events hosted by Fortuna Bank, where we bring groups of people together, focus primarily on women, but bring groups of people together to be able to offer an opportunity to connect with maybe people that you wouldn't run around in the same circles with. And so that way, hopefully we are able to provide some of that mentorship opportunity or connections. And then we also are offering our space here. We have a great conference room seats between 10 and probably 15 to 20 people. And that's free of charge for people to be able to use and book if they have meetings, if they'd like to hold it, whether it's a meeting, a one-on-one client meeting here, they can reserve our space.
What a great benefit.
Yeah, it's been really well received. We probably on average have at least one event a week where someone that's in here that's not us and not necessarily hosted by us, but utilizing our space. So that's been exciting.
That's awesome. Awesome. Lisa, did you want to jump in?
No, at this point,
Okay.
I sit back. I do what Ilaria tells me to do.
But she's the boss, so let's remember that.
So you two seem like you have a very good working relationship of knowing who's on first at what time, kind of.
I think so.
Yeah.
Ilaria's always
Been a
over.
long time. No. No way.
What do you see for the next 5 years for the bank? I mean, you've gotten up and running, which is amazing. And now it's time to just like be everywhere, or maybe not. I know that's,
So the entrepreneur in me says the next 5 years, I just see growth. I see establishing working relationships with lots of people, lots of businesses, people, their families, their businesses, working with them to help them grow. Growth for them hopefully means not only deposits and selling more widgets or whatever it is they do, but it also means the need to take out loans so they can build a new building, or take out a loan or take out a second mortgage on their home so they can go and use the proceeds to expand their business. We want to work with people and help them grow, which in turn helps us grow.
Yeah.
In the next 5 years,
It's a win-win.
deposit, loans, relationships, putting our heads down, that's what I see for the next 5 years. Ilaria might see it a little differently.
No, I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's the end result. Sprinkled in with making sure that, we have a lot of safety and soundness, and that we are following, the regulatory guidelines that we need to follow, and that we're also giving back. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a big advocate of banks are the foundational kind of pieces of all of our communities, because if banks weren't here to lend, businesses wouldn't be able to kind of grow. And so I'm really excited about kind of the additional growth that we see in Columbus because of Fortuna Bank and because of what we're doing here. Maybe that wouldn't have been here without us here.
Very cool. I love it. I have one last question. I could talk to you ladies for hours and hours because I nerd out about things like this. But my last question for our listeners is, if you had one piece of advice to someone starting a business, knowing what you know now that you've gotten to operations, what would that piece of advice be?
It's trite and hackneyed, but if you believe in what you're doing, don't quit. Tough out the hard stuff, because it will be hard and there will be parts of the journey that will absolutely suck, but grind it out and it'll be worth it in the end. And this is coming from somebody, I don't know. I can't say, was this worth it in the end? We're not there. We're not at our end, but gutting out the hard parts was worth it, right? Yeah. To get to the other side of the hard parts. We're going to have other hurdles in our way over the next 5 to 10 years. This is coming from not just from this bank growing experience, but just from my other businesses. I say just stick with the hard stuff, stick it out, and it'll be worth it. That would be my advice.
Ilaria?
Yeah, I think I would add, do research. Talk to as many people as you can who may have been in your shoes before. We've been really lucky that we have some really close relationships with other startup banks here both in Columbus, but also nationwide. We've made some friends, and they've been the phone a friend in times of whether we were stressed out, but they've also been some of our biggest champions. I would get texts from other CEOs saying, no, it's hard right now, keep going. You'll get there. And I just remember thinking, I have to make sure I give it back the same way that someone else did that for me. And so do your research, make connections. And I think I agree to Lisa's point. You just gotta keep going, because there are a lot of moments where I think we were like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's funny, Laura, you brought up other people in the same space, because that is something that I don't know that people know is there. I find anyone who's a small business owner or a startup is willing to like lend a hand to a person in the same thing, 3 years behind them in their journey. And so I'm glad that the community in small business banking or small banks was there for you as well, because I think that speaks leaps and bounds.
Yeah, well, I think you could easily think of it as a competitor. And I don't know, I was surprised, but I was so excited when it didn't feel that way. And it felt like we're all in this together and we're here to help each other out. And so, which is how I like to operate. I mean, I don't like to think of it as I can't talk to you, you're a competitor, I'm afraid of what you might figure out. Like, let's all help everybody. Let's grow together.
And sort of tangentially, but somewhat related, but somewhat not related, don't be afraid to reach out to people who you don't know if you think they can be helpful, because 99 times out of 100, they're totally willing to help.
That is a great piece of advice. Thank you, Lisa. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for being on. I am so excited and happy to have you. I think we had a really good conversation.
Thanks, Allison.
No, thank you.